I heard the best description this morning for how to stop your rumination and your overthinking and to stop identifying with your ego and to, most importantly, get rid of and blow out of the water the things you don't prefer in your life. Because the point was that all the things that you're going through right now that you don't prefer, it's not your reality. Okay, what it is a semblance or a reflection of old beliefs, of old systems, because you are the creator. If you buy that you're the creator, then you're going to want to listen up here for a minute. You created everything in your life currently that you don't prefer. And even though your mindset has changed and you're doing all the manifesting and you're trying to change your reality, there is a gap between what your current mindset is and what the outer world is reflecting. It takes time in this 3D to make up the reality around you, for things to construct, for people, places, and things to move so that it reflects your inner world. So just because you're thinking it now and you're doing all of the manifestation work and the thought work doesn't mean it's going to pop up in your 3D right now. And obviously you know this because you're still suffering and you're still going through things that you don't prefer. And so now that you know you're the creator and you know that you brought all of these things to fruition, you yourself brought all these negative things that you don't prefer. And that's going to trigger a lot of people. I get it. That used to trigger me. That used to trigger me immensely because I would be like, look, I'm just out here like trying to live my life and be in peace. And these people want to be out here like whiling and betraying me and talking about me. And I'm just trying to live my life. But when I really got real with myself, I admitted that a lot of the things that people were bringing to me and a lot of the disrespect and just ridiculousness that I was dealing with in my 3D was a result of unprocessed beliefs about myself that I was still carrying. And they were just reflecting back to me my inherent beliefs that I wasn't lovable, that I would never be lovable, that I deserved disrespect and poor treatment. And a lot of it was that I tolerated it for a really long time, so they got used to the pattern too, but that's not important and that actually doesn't matter. What matters is that your inherent beliefs and your insecurities actually brought about the current reality that you're living in that you don't prefer. And I'm not trying to blame, I'm not victim blaming. In fact, it's empowering because what it's telling you is that now you have the ability to change your 3D reality. Because just like you created those bad things that you don't prefer, you can now imagine and create a reality that you do prefer. Because you believe you're the creator. You believe that you are source energy having a creative experience. So now that you know that, you're in like honors academic level of life. Because you're no longer living life to learn. You already know now. You've already cracked the code on the biggest knowledge that you could ever have, which is that you are source having a human experience, that you actually are the creator. You already know that. So we don't need to go through all of these like schooling life experiences anymore because we've already come to like the upper echelon, top matrixy like knowledge and truth that you are the creator. So now you just get to live your life and you get to just create. Now you just get to think of something that you want to experience and then bring it into your reality because you're the creator. You know that now. So now you can play. Okay, but all of the old matrixy, fractal, ego stories and consequences of you living in this matrix and not being awake to that, to the idea that you're the creator, now you're still living with the repercussions of that. Okay. And it's not your fault. And in fact, you can now have the power and you can have the wherewithal to say, I'm actually the creator and I don't prefer this anymore. And so in that moment, this is how you do it. Okay. This is how you live in a graduated 5D sense where you're not being controlled anymore by your fractal matrix ideas that are creating a reality that you don't prefer. Now that you recognize that that's what's happening, this is how you crack the code, okay? This is how you break out of it. In that moment where you're triggered, you shift. You shift into the knowledge of, hey, I'm actually the creator. I actually created this based on some thought I had, or identity belief, some egoic belief about myself and what I deserve. And in this moment, instead of being triggered and giving it my emotional reaction, because your emotional reaction quite literally is the currency, it is the creation tool. It is the thing and the power that creates your reality. It's your emotion. It's your attention and your emotion and your reaction, all of which are the same thing. Okay? So people want to say like, act nonchalant, act unbothered. No. Why would you do that? You're diminishing yourself of the power of creation, because the power of your creation is in your feelings. So in the past, the reason why you've established this like thought pattern or this reality that you don't like is because of your emotions and your feelings around certain thoughts about yourself. That was the power all along. So to be nonchalant and unbothered, you're just denying the power that's creating your life every single day. So what we do now that we're not in a school of life where we have to learn that we're source, we already know we're source, we're in the honors program of life when we want to experience, we recognize that our feelings and emotions are the secret sauce and they are the magic alchemy that create our reality. So when we feel triggered, we're not going to give it the reaction that we used to once give it. We're not going to give it the emotions that we used to once give it. In that moment that we recognize we're triggered, now that we're in the honors program, we say, oh, I see what this is. This is an old belief based on some old egoic thing from the old fractured program. Okay, the 3D matrix that had me stuck and had me disembodied and had me fractured. I'm going to recognize what this is right now, and I'm going to pivot. Pivot. How do we pivot? This goes a little bit further, but it's so easy, okay? This is how we pivot in the moment. We recognize it for what it is. We call it out, and we tell ourselves, oh, I'm feeling triggered in this moment because of my old belief of A, B, C, and D, which I now recognize I held, that I no longer hold. And so what I'm going to do in this moment, because all we have is the present moment, instead of ping-ponging back and forth between the past and the future, which is what we do when we're triggered in the old 3D way of living, we would get triggered and then our minds would ping-pong between the past and the future of all these stories about us and all these limiting beliefs. And then we just got stuck in this matrix, like, typhoon of the past and the future. All of your freedom is in the present moment. As a creator, it's in the present moment. It's all you have. And you recognize that because you're in the honors program. You're in the honors program. You're here. So in that moment, you call on that knowledge that you have and that honors level status, which is what you are. And you recognize, oh, this is an old pattern from my old way of being. And actually, I don't believe that story anymore. And so you pivot in that moment. And I don't know, maybe you need to give yourself some self-soothing. Maybe you need to tell that little inner child. I've said over and over again, your healing and everything that you want is on the other side of everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of your healing. And so in that moment, you heal a little bit more. You tell your inner child and you hold your hand to your heart space and you tell her, you're valuable. You're beautiful. You don't deserve this treatment. You're worthy of wealth. You're worthy of abundance. You're worthy of love and respect and honor. You heal yourself in that moment, in that present moment. And I promise you will automatically feel better when you realize all the power is in you now. You're the creator. You're not being controlled by the matrix anymore and what it wants to tell you about yourself and your egoic problems and trauma. You're the creator now. So now what you do in that moment is you recognize you need a little bit of self-healing. You give it to yourself and then you create. Then you create and you tell yourself, what do I actually want to prefer? What do I prefer? What do I want to experience in this moment? I sure as hell know what I don't want to experience because I just was in it. I just was triggered a minute ago. I know what I don't want. So what's the converse of that? What do I do want? And now that I've comforted my little inner child and I've told her it's safe to dream and create, now I'm going to go and I'm going to create and I'm going to envision and imagine what it is I actually want. I want good relationships. I want loving relationships. I want respect. I want honor. I want power in my friendships and my relationships. I'm not going to be triggered by that old egoic thinking anymore that I don't deserve that. That's actually what I want. I can feel it. I can feel it in my heart how it feels to have that. I'm going to imagine how great it's going to be. I'm going to live in the end. I'm going to feel the feelings as if I have it. Then watch as your 3D catches up. And it doesn't take long. It catches up real quick and you change your reality. And now those old triggers no longer affect you so much because you're living in a completely different reality. You're not living in that old reality that you don't prefer. And that is Hacking the Matrix in the Honors Program. Welcome.